think about Corinthians 13 and growing up in church, you hear that a lot. It's like love is this, love is that, love is kind, love is patient. All these things, and it lists off love. And then in me and Derek's relationship, learning what that love actually looks like and walking that out, I imagine that even goes to a higher level once you're married. Learning love is a choice, and you have to walk out this love. And just because you're married or just because you're dating doesn't mean it's going to come easy. It's like I'm gonna be kind, I'm gonna be patient, I'm gonna be long suffering, all these things. So
everything you do in your marriage is a choice, and you have to intentionally love your husband, love your wife, because there's gonna be some times when, not that you don't love him and want the best for him or want the best for her, but there's gonna be a time that love ain't on the surface, that love ain't in the forefront. It's something else that's getting in the place of that love that's gonna be kicking in your marriage at some point. Everything that you do is something that you choose to do in your marriage for your marriage or for your husband or for your wife. So you're absolutely right. I like the words you just used, choice. Everything you do is a choice. And you just gotta be mindful of the choices that you're making. Is it helping the marriage or if it's hurting the marriage? Some things you just gotta go through. There's gonna be bumps that you just gotta go through in order to help the marriage. You gotta go through to come out on the other side. Disagreements, the way you see things, that's the way I like it. No, I don't like it that way. Whatever the situation may be, but you just believe God that there is not gonna be anything that's gonna damage your marriage to the point that you can't return or that it pushes the marriage backwards versus forward. That's what you don't want. You don't want something that's gonna break it or gonna put you or him in some type of situation that is so hard to come from that your heart is so bitter. That's why you gotta guard your marriage. You gotta guard it with everything you have, because the devil uses people, uses things to attack your marriage. And that's why you gotta be committed to the vows just as much as you got to be committed to the person. Because there's gonna be times when your commitment to that person, you ain't feeling that committed. You're upset, you got issues, you ain't feeling it. But if you committed to your vows, that's what's gonna hold the marriage together when those times when you ain't feeling each other. That's how serious you have to be when you take those words. You have to have something in you that you can attach yourself to or stand by. What I had for me in my marriage, I knew what I experienced as a child, that I wasn't gonna bring into my marriage, right? That was one thing. The other thing was, my father, after he lost his family, used to always tell me, son, do not lose your family. Whatever, he used to tell me, it's your responsibility to keep your family together. Whatever you do, keep your family. So, I mean, learning from his experience and other people who have allowed their marriage to break up and regretted it for whatever reason. After whatever broke them up didn't matter no more, I wanted my family back. So my father used to always drive in my head once we got married, just a conversation between me and him. It's your responsibility. Whatever you do, keep your family together. So I had that. Like, I had the pain of losing my family, breaking up as a child, but then I also had my father driving me, do whatever it takes to keep your family together. And then the vows. I knew what the vows meant to me, but then when I became a Christian and allowed the words to penetrate me even more, the word of God to penetrate me even more, I didn't want to disappoint God. So I got all these things that whenever I got upset with my wife, I was like, man, I don't know what I done got myself into. I could go back to those things, they would be ringing in my ear. So it kept me. It helped keep me in my marriage when I didn't want to be married. So whatever it takes for you individually or for you individually to be able to stand on, you got to find that within yourself. You got to have those reasons within yourself. They're yours. And so when you ain't feeling your wife and your wife ain't feeling you, and y'all on the other side of the room and the other side of the house or whatever, I believe, some people might say, well, it doesn't have to be that way. my experience is, and I think a lot of experiences, you go through this in the marriage. So you got to find those things that help you stay in your marriage. You got to find those things to help you stay in your marriage when you're not feeling each other.
Yeah, I'll just add this in here too, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And what reminded me of this when you talked about love, right? When I think about marriage, I think about how the spouses, the husband and the wife, literally have to have a sense of unconditional love for one another. And I was reminded of God and his unconditional love toward us, and that, you know, even in the midst of, you know, how, you know, we were a world headed on the way to hell, you know, a sinful world, he still sacrificed his only son. Why? Because he loved us that much. So it didn't matter what our insufficiencies were, what our inadequacies were, what our failures were, you know, what our issues were. He loved us enough to where he was willing to sacrifice his son just so that we can have everlasting life. That's true love. I mean, we can say we love one another, but until we willing to die for one another, you know, give our life for our spouse, which I literally feel like both of us would if we felt like we needed to do that, you know.
Another question.
Absolutely. Then that's really not really unconditional love. Because if unconditional love is when you don't try to preserve yourself, but you make it about the other person, right? If you really, really, truly love that individual, no matter what their issues are that they bring to the table, no matter what their concerns are, no matter what you don't like about certain things, you're going to love them in spite of that. And you're not going to allow that to be something that snatches that away from you to the point to where you're like, I'm just throwing in the towel, I'm giving this up. You know, because that's what unconditional love is. Think about if God did that to us. If salvation was based on, you know, what we did and what we didn't do, none of us would be saved. Mm-hmm. Because we have issues one day, we may be cool the next day, but the next day we tripping, you know? Unconditional love in a marriage, I think, is really necessary to where you can just not that you don't feel the sting of certain things, but you overlook it to the point to where it's like, you know what, that ain't even all that so important enough to where I'm going to be like, you know, the heck with you.
Yeah.
You know, you get over it, you bounce back, you grow from it, you learn from it, and hopefully get better because of it.
I guess I kind of have a question, transition a little bit. I always hear, you know, marriage is like all about compromise, you know, things like that. And coming from, you know, my family, I'm a single child. So like, I'm not used to having to compromise a lot, have people in my space, things like that. Do you guys feel like, I know you came from a, you know, pretty big family, you know, with siblings and stuff like that. You had siblings as well, right? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that made it easier for y'all to kind of compromise, you know, getting married, or, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll jump in on that one because to me, I probably was more so like you. And reason being, even though, you know, you literally didn't have siblings, I had two, but they were so much older than me. So you're talking about 13, 12-year difference, that to where it's almost like I'm the only child. Because by the time at a certain point, they hit a certain age, they out the house and it's really just me.
Yeah.
So I'm at home with my parents for years and years and years by myself. And so because I was so young, there was a selfishness that was there, you know, because I was more like the only child and it really was only about me. You get what I'm saying? Even though I had siblings, but again, they so much older than me that it wasn't even like, I didn't even have playmates. You get what I'm saying? They were too old to play with me. They were like parents to me. Like literally, my sister was like a second mom. She was more like a mother than she was a sibling or a sister. And you know, again, they're more like second parents almost. So I didn't have siblings where I, you know, had like you. I guess 5-year difference still is a lot, but not that huge, right? So I really felt like I was the only child. So I probably was more so like you. So because I was more so like you, to answer your point, I had a lot that I had to learn, and I'm still a work in progress because there was a sense of it was all about me. So when you got an attitude of it's all about me and bringing that into a marriage, you know, that can be a challenge because it's not all about you. But what I've noticed and what I feel like with him, you were more like the middle child, right? But they were all so closely connected because they were only like a couple years difference between each other. So they grew up with each other, right? So they had to learn and they were taught how to do certain things and how not to be selfish and how to consider the other person. And especially for him being the only boy for so long, before his younger brother came along, you know, he was taught to respect the girls and all this other different type of stuff. So he had a whole totally different dynamic than what I had. So I felt like he may have had more of an advantage of being more of an automatic giver in the relationship than what I was, because as the youngest child, I was taken. You get what I'm saying? I was babied, I was taking, I was getting, I was spoiled. You know what I'm saying? I had all those different dynamics going on, and bringing that into a married relationship might not necessarily been the best. I'm still a work in progress, but I feel like I've come a long way. I feel like I've gotten better with some things because of that. So I hope that answers your question.
I think it's a real easy way to look at it. Well, before I get there, let me say this. My wife grew up the youngest sibling and being the center of attention and, the baby child. So most of the time, the baby child is the one that gets all the attention. So Lauren is the baby child. So Lauren grew up telling her big sister what to do or going in and just taking from her big sister or even bullying her big sister because her big sister was not going to, in any kind of way, hurt her younger sister. So one day I was like, she was bullying Sierra, and I said, Sierra hit her back. Sierra hit her back. And Lauren just thought the world had caved in. Oh, I can't believe you did that. So that was an example of her being used to getting her way. I recognized what was going on, and I just wanted Lauren to get a taste of what she was giving her big sister. No, nothing violent, but it was Lauren just knew that she could bully her big sister to get whatever she wanted or come take something from her because she was the baby.
Yeah.
Now with you're the only child. I'm not concerned, but wondering how does the dynamics going to be between an only child
And
and a baby child, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all about giving. It's being in a relationship. It's not about me. There's times when it's about you, right? It's times when you need your space, you need your attention, you need it to be about me. A lot of times, in order for it to work, it can't be about me. It's got to be about us. So I think you narrow it down. Am I a giver? Or am I a taker? You don't want to be labeled as a taker because that means you're just taking in and never giving back. And that will wear on anybody. So you don't want to go through the world just being a taker. Because people will recognize that and people will not want to be around you because you always take and never give back. If you're a giver that's always going through life or in a relationship that's just giving, that wears you out. Because at some point, you get tired of being the person that's doing all the giving and not receiving anything in return. So I think that the thing that you want to always keep in your mind, am I a taker? Am I a giver? Or am I using the taking and giving at the right time? Make that mental note. Then as you go through your marriage, just say, hey, this may be the time that I give, or this is the time it's okay to take or receive. Be aware of that. And as you're building your relationship and building your marriage, then if both of you guys are doing that, then you're gonna be okay. I would recommend just keeping those two things in mind and just use them at the right time and understand when it's a time to give and when it's a time to take.
Yeah. I feel like that's something I'm still adjusting to that though, cause like I'm so used to us also being long distance. Like even like when you come out there, it's like I'll find myself thinking about having my own space like to myself. Not necessarily saying I don't want you there or anything like that, but it's just what I'm used to. I'm not used to having nobody in my room or like.
But that's okay though, because we do need our space. We do need to be able to. Now you're one, right? So becoming one means a whole lot. Coming together means a whole lot. It also doesn't mean that you don't have time for yourself.
Yeah, that's gonna be important.
And both of you need to recognize each one deserves some time.
Right.
I know probably for Derek, but for me, my thing was going to the gym. When I would go to the gym, that would be my me time, and it would be amazing because I come back and I tell my wife, like, man, I'm in there working out, and I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about, and I come back and tell her, I was like, I'm going to the gym, and it gives me clarity. It gives me now, I don't have to focus on all the distractions of a job and other stuff, but I get to go in there and just focus on me. But it's amazing, by me going in there and focusing on me, it gives me clarity in the moment to be able to think about some things that I need to change, need to improve, I need to say this, I need to do that, or I need to focus on, or, so I look forward to going to the gym because, of course, I love the challenge of working out and all that comes with that, but it also gives me time to just focus on me and my mind or whatever that little time means to me, right? So you got to be okay with him wanting his space, but you also him got to be okay with you, and both of y'all need to create that space. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to come so independent on one another that your life have no meaning other than this person.
Yeah.
You are individual. You are who you are without her, and she is who she is without you. So it's okay to want space, but that space can't become so big
Yes.
that the togetherness becomes small and it overcomes.